Hey everybody, Spencer here. This is the He's Game Media YouTube channel. I'm Heezy, and I'm excited because I got to talk about my favorite franchise today. We all know what it is. It's time to talk some Star Wars, and this time we're talking Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'm really excited to talk about this game, but before I do, just want to say my Patreon is launched. You can go to patreon.com/HeezyGameMedia. Uh, I'm not expecting anything right now, but what I would love if you could email me with some of the long-term awards and things like that that we could be doing here on this YouTube channel. It would be greatly appreciated, and I'll try and figure out some kind of giveaway for that. I'll decide what that is next week, but I'll definitely be giving something awesome away to try and encourage people to give me some ideas of things that they would like to see on that Patreon. But let's actually talk about something really important to all of us, and that's Star Wars. I think that most people in the world that consume media seem to like Star Wars. There's certainly people that it's not their thing, and if it's not your thing, that's okay. I think that this game is. We're going to talk about if it's worth it for non-Star Wars fans. But right now, we're spending a lot of time at home. There's people who are watching Star Wars for the first time, all of them right now during this pandemic. And is this something that after you've watched all of the Star Wars and binge watched everything is worth a look at? We're going to talk about that. I personally love Star Wars. I think that it's just a huge part of my childhood, and the time that I spent with my friends and my cousins and my family, and some of my longest memories are around this franchise. And so for me, I think with a lot of people, we kind of had some problems with the way that EA was handling Star Wars games. Between Galaxy of Heroes, which is certainly a fun mobile game, and then the failures that is Battlefront. I mean, Battlefront 1 was not what people expected. And when you think about the games that you got to play as a child, Battlefront Original and Battlefront 2 were groundbreaking, amazing first-person shooters for Star Wars. The story in Battlefront 2 was great. If you look at some of the great Star Wars games we got to play, Republic Commando, not just to mention the fact that KOTOR is in this universe and is just one of the greatest video games ever made. I know that a lot of people are really excited for Pod Racer to come to the Switch, and Star Wars Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy also just came to the Switch, and people are excited for that, and those games are definitely worth checking out. But I think that EA has made some mistakes with specifically Battlefront, and people were sad to think about that could be the future of Star Wars, that it was these what felt like lifeless video games. And so for me, my expectations going to this were really low. I did not expect a lot out of EA, and I was honestly a little bit scared. I tried not to look too much stuff up before playing the game because I didn't want anything to be tainted. I didn't even watch the full the when they did the gameplay on, I think it's on Kashyyyk that they did the game. I didn't even watch it all. I just watched like 2 seconds and was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep this down. My expectations low on this. I'm not gonna get myself excited for this because I was so excited for Battlefront, and so I was really shocked. My first impressions were amazing. I started having fun immediately with this game. Right when you start out on this planet where you have to get learned the movement in a lot of ways, and it was so seamless to start learning the controls in this game. They made it fun to learn the controls. It's one of my favorite things when a game does that, is they made that training you to play the game was fun. And it's possible it's because I had never played the games with this type of movement system or combat system before, but I enjoyed that process, and it's a huge benefit to have that in a video game. And the story starts out pretty strong. And I want to talk about the story. You start as this young former Jedi Padawan that survived Order 66 in Cal Kestis, who has kind of lost his connection to the Force, and you have to go on an adventure to restore it. And you get with this crew, and with your crew, you try and find out some bigger information that could possibly help you restore the Jedi Order. And you have to do that along your path of trying to get your Force powers back. I personally really loved this story. It was one with growth of multiple characters, seeing people change, learning lore and things that I just didn't expect. And, I really felt like there was a lot in this game. One of the things that I did wish though was that it moved a little bit faster. A lot of video games do this where a lot of the character growth happens in chunks, and so you have to move through the story to get certain types of character development, and it's very enjoyable, but it's a little bit slow. Not that that's a problem all the time, but there was just some times where I wish it moved faster. However, the overall character growth was amazing, and the ending of this game is really fast paced instead of that slow pace, and is full of surprises and awesome moments. And between the character growth and the high points, I really thought that the story was good, and that was something I was not expecting. There's so many great characters to love. My personal favorite character who isn't Cal is the droid BD1. BD1 has an interesting backstory. It may be cheating to say this because BD1 is with you the entire game, but you get to learn so much about this droid and the droid's past and the droid's purpose, and it makes you care about this droid, and you can feel why Cal loves the droid, and that's really sweet. The next thing to talk about is kind of the gameplay. I think there are a few things that go into this gameplay, and I'm going to read them off actually. We got skill tree and upgrades, we got combat and movement, we got puzzles, and we got collectibles. Let's start with the skill tree. So the skill tree is fine. It builds decently as you kind of progress throughout the game, so it makes it so that you don't have to do much grinding. I personally did grind. At one point in the game, I wanted to unlock some skills to make things a little bit, I wouldn't want to say, yeah, easier in a lot of ways. But I thought that it was interesting to me that I didn't really think of grinding until one point when I was like, oh, I could just grind this, and I decided to invest some time doing that. And that was interesting. I think it made certain parts of the game better for me. I don't know that it made any parts of the game worse for me. I've only played through the game once now. But overall, I thought that the skill tree was great. The skill tree is kind of separate from the upgrades, but they feel the same because of kind of how the movement works, which is kind of cool. But you gain force power separately kind of from the skill tree. So you got force power upgrades, BD1 can get upgrades, and things like that. And as you unlock upgrades, you unlock more parts of the map and things like that. It's really fun to get to go back. I know that I went to all of the planets that are available right when they were available to look at stuff, which made things interesting. It made it so that during different parts of the game, I kind of knew where I was going in certain parts. It was enjoyable, and unlocking those skills and being to go back and visit. There's just a lot to the game, so it was really interesting. I heard a complaint that the game was too fast for a lot of people. I did not feel that way. I played this game for quite a bit, and I didn't even unlock everything. Next up is combat and movement. I think that I never played Dark Souls or God of War, which people compare this to. I've never played those games, but this game's combat was surprising to me. I was very much expecting like a Force Unleashed hack and slash, and while there was kind of some of that, it didn't. It was more elegant and beautiful and fun. I used the word elegant to describe movement and beautiful here. Like it legitimately felt different, and it felt natural as you progressed and learned new things that you could do these new things. I don't know, it was very fluid and great and really enjoyable. I don't know that I've enjoyed character movement like that in a video game, maybe ever. I mean, like I'm thinking of like Breath of the Wild, for example. That open world does not have as good as movement. You can go everywhere, but the movement isn't fluid like this. The combat system, like I said, was not hack and slashy, but it did give you a lot to learn and to experience. I did not play the game on the most difficult mode. I assumed the game would actually be really hard on the most difficult mode, just because I just found myself early on. I was dying, and I think that if you play this game on a harder mode, I think that combat could be really, really difficult. But if you like a challenge, this is certainly a game where you can challenge yourself in a lot of different ways, and the combat is one of them. The puzzles were sweet. They did feel. I think the reason that Breath of the Wild keeps coming up for me is because the puzzles felt very Breath of the Wild like, but they were fun and interesting and made you feel accomplished. They offered a really nice change of pace challenge from the combat that was very different, so that you're not always in combat as like the challenging part of the game. The challenges were good and they made you feel good. I wish that they had had more impact on the story, because like when you're doing this difficult task, it's nice to get a reward, an additional reward in the story. I don't know that that's like a fair complaint. They certainly don't have to do that, and it was still fun either way. But I did think that once. I was like, oh man, I wish that had been connected to the story in some way, because that was like a big moment for me. I do want to give a pointer. I only looked at the guide once for a puzzle. I looked at movement, like where to go next, twice. But for a puzzle, I only looked at one thing. And I just want to give some advice that you have to remember to combine your force powers. This is important throughout the game. There's tons of puzzles where one force power is not going to do it. It's kind of like when you are using multiple of the tools in Breath of the Wild to accomplish a goal on one of the shrines. It's going to be a similar thing for you. You're going to want to try and use everything that you've got to get that done. And that is also true for trying to get all the collectibles. The collectibles are sweet. You get to customize however you want your lightsaber to look. And what more can you say than that? Like, there's tons of different options for your lightsaber, and that's sweet. There's also upgrades. There's also customization of your ship. There's customization of your droid. There's customization of you. And it's not the same as all of the loadouts and customizations of something like Mass Effect or KOTOR or things like that, where you can customize so much. It's still quite a bit, and it's also cool because you have to solve puzzles to unlock those and collect those, and that's really sweet. If you're the kind of person that likes the 100% games, this is going to be a fun task for you, because the puzzles are sweet, and there's a lot to do and a lot to explore, and you got to go back and forth. So if you're a 100%er that likes collectibles, this game definitely offers that. I want to wrap up by giving the game a score before I kind of talk about it. And the score that I would give this game on a scale of, I'm going to say 0 to 5, because I know a lot of people like 1 to 5, but I think that some games deserve a 0, is going to be 4.5 out of 5. And there is only one reason for that. I know I have a Star Wars bias, but I also recognize something about my Star Wars bias, and that's that a lot of times in games like these, I should say, you can have a problem where you rely too much on the subject matter. And if you look at a game like KOTOR, which I believe is a 5 out of 5, I believe that if they remastered that game today and just they just changed the combat system, it would be a 5 out of 5 still. But at its time, its combat system was just fine and totally okay. I think that this game suffers from one problem, and that problem is that while KOTOR, you can just change the Jedi to something else entirely, and it just would be a great game still. If you just change the Jedi and the Sith, the game is still great. They can just be anything else. I don't think this game has that to its advantage. The story very much makes you care about the events of the movies and of the Clone Wars, and you have to care about those things to get the full story in this game. And I think that that's a deterrent. It's an amazing story. You should play it. It's a great story. If you've watched the films, it'll be great for you. But I think that the story is substantially better if you've watched the films, which obviously it's a Star Wars game. It's going to have that. But I do think that is important to note here. Other than that, it was amazing. It really gave me trust back in Star Wars video games. And they're making a sequel for this. I'm definitely going to buy it. This game is easily worth the $60 you pay for it. And I'm going to play the sequel. I think that if you're spending time at home right now due to quarantine, and you are looking for a really fun, great game to play on your Xbox or PS4, this is the one. Lock it in. Ship that money. It was an amazing experience, and I'm really grateful. I was texting my friends the entire time just how happy I was that this game existed and that I got to experience it. So hit that like button, smash that sub button, leave a comment. Tell me what I should review next. I really enjoyed Star Wars. I'll review any Star Wars game. You just tell me the one you want to see, and I'll do a review of it. I want to thank everybody who's subbed so far. It's cool to watch this channel grow and some of the videos that have done well. I really appreciate all of you. We'll see you all next time with another video here on the Heezy Game Media YouTube channel.